If you have been asking the question, who started the war in Cameroon, then this is my response to you. It indicates that you do not understand the political landscape of your country. You do not understand when Ambazonia was created and the preamble of that organization. You do not understand when SCNC, the Southern Cameroon National Council, was created and the objective of that movement. If you say the president should sit on the table and have dialogue with either Chris Anu, Cho Ayaba, Sako, Professor Anyangwe, Gojin Tinka, if you really think in your right senses that the president should somehow sit on the table and have a dialogue with these individuals, then you do not understand the political landscape in your nation. You don't understand your country. You don't understand the individuals that you're dealing with and their organizations and what they stand for. Ambazonia was created in 1985. And the objective of Ambazonia is to secede, divide the nation. When that organization failed, they created SCNC in 1995. And the objective of SCNC, the Southern Cameroon National Council, is to secede, separate from the nation. So when the lawyers and the teachers went on the street marching in 2016, these individuals have been working extremely hard and waiting for this opportunity to secede. So my question to you, again, as a Cameroonian, who started the war? Who started this conflict that you find yourself in? That is a question that you should answer based on the information I have just provided right now for you.
Oh, we love you. We love you, we love you.
Roland Fru, founder of CSDP, Cameroon Sustainable Development Project. You have taught us the true meaning of hard work and determination. You have taught us how to believe in ourselves. You are one of the pride, the lives of the youth of Cameroon. You are an inspiration to our generation. We love you, Mr. Roland Fru.
What I'm sharing with you here is the Cameroon dream. The Cameroon dream is a dream of a nation where French-speaking Cameroonians and English-speaking Cameroonians live in unity, live as brothers and sisters, love one another, cooperate to establish businesses and projects that create the ecosystem for productivity. I would like for us to look into the U.S. presidential election, because it has a great deal to do with our nation. What happens in the United States of America affects the whole world. And this is a fact that we must all come to terms with. So it is important that we observe the political elections in America. This conversation is going to be very interesting because I'll be bringing in some key panels, some very interesting panels that will actually pour light on this conversation and help you gain clarity as to where we are going with this. But trust me, it's going to be enlightening. It's going to transform your thinking. It's going to give you perspective so that you, as an ordinary citizen of Cameroon, can understand how to maneuver the political landscape in your nation. If you are naive about the politics in your nation, what I am doing right here on this platform is to move us from the Interquartier League to the Champions League, because the perspective of these individuals is predicated on the Interquartier League. But what I'm getting us to is to play at the level that you see Americans playing right now. This is what my eyes is set on, to get us to the level that even though we are a third world nation, but we can play at this level. This is the level of politics that I'm thinking about. Do you understand what I'm saying? So stay glued to your screen and we are going somewhere.
What I'm going to do is fix the tax system. For example, we have 1,000 trillionaires in America. I mean, billionaires, for what I've been able to do with the with the COVID, excuse me, with dealing with everything we have to do with, look, if we finally beat Medicare, there's a lot of young women are being raped by their in-laws, by their spouses, brothers and sisters, it's just ridiculous, and they can do nothing about it. And they try to arrest them when they cross state lines. I'm going to continue to move until we get the total ban on the total initiative relative to what we're going to do with more Border Patrol and more asylum officers.
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence.
Years.
Millions
have
benefited
from
from
that. And we're going to do a whole
Gavin
lot more.
Newsom, Michelle,
black
they're all
Thank you, President Trump.
everything that I thought.
And he caused the inflation. He's blaming inflation, and he's right. It's been very bad. He caused the inflation, and it's killing black families and Hispanic families and just about everybody. It's killing people. They can't buy groceries anymore. They can't. You look at the cost of food, where it's doubled and tripled and quadrupled. They can't live. They're not living anymore. He caused this inflation. I gave him a country with essentially no inflation. It was perfect. It was so good. All he had to do is leave it alone. He destroyed it with his Green New Scam and all this money that's being thrown out the window. He caused inflation. As sure as you're sitting there, the fact is that his big kill on the black people is the millions of people that he's allowed to come in through the border. They're taking black jobs now, and it could be 18, it could be 19, and even 20 million people. They're taking black jobs, and they're taking Hispanic jobs, and you haven't seen it yet, but you're going to see something that's going to be the worst in our history.
I want to say everything that I am today, I give credit to the United States of America. The level at which I'm thinking and the kind of development and progress that I want to bring to Cameroon, I give credit to America. I'm for the unity of this nation. I'm for the standards and the values of this nation. And I support Donald Trump. If you are an Ambazonia and you say you are a pro-Trump, then that goes against everything that you've ever believed for your entire life. You can never be a pro-Trump, a pro-America, and be a pro-Ambazonia. That contradicts your entire existence. This is where you should have perspective as to what we are dealing with here. Like I said, there's a difference between Interquartier League and Champions League. The American political system is Champions League. What you're doing with Ambazonia and secession is Interquartier League. This is the standard that we are playing. And it is high time you start understanding what is happening in the global economy so that you can have perspective as to what you should do in your nation and not follow dogma. Do you understand what I'm saying? I'm a Christian. I believe in God. I believe in Christian values. I believe that we should model after great nations and come down our high horses and stop misleading our people. You cannot be for the division of Cameroon. You can't stand for the division of Cameroon and tell me you're a pro-American. You can't have both. You either have one or the other. So if you are an Ambazonia, you can never be a pro-Trump. You can never be a pro-America. If you're for the unity and progress of Cameroon, then you can be a pro-America and you can be a pro-Trump. I want to make that so clear that you do not miss it. Okay, on that note, I want you to take a listen to what this pastor, a black man in America, has to say about President Donald Trump. Take a listen.
Donald Trump. Check this out.
Bruce, we were together, and I said, let me test this racism. He touched me with strong, I'm Donald J. Trump. He wasn't timid. Then I stood by his daughter, Ivanka, and it was time to pray. And I say, let me test it again. We were holding hands. She reached out for my hand and she said, let's pray. She was pregnant, I'll never forget it. And she held my hand. I say, a racist man's child would never. So I got several reasons why I'm going to support him. And I'm ready to take whatever heat because it can't be hot enough because the furnace is in my favor.
That is a great speech. Great, absolutely great speech. And this is what I have to add on that. I support Donald Trump. I support America. I stand for the unity of this nation. I stand for the progress of this nation. Because if America is doing fine, other nations around the world will do fine as well. This has been the history of humanity. There is always a superpower. Every dispensation in our evolution, there has always been a nation that is a superpower. Whether you like it or not, whether you feel good about it or not, there has always been a superpower. And if you understand that there is a superpower and then you understand how to coordinate yourself within that specific dispensation. Now, this is the time where business leaders are emerging and running nations. Donald Trump did that in his time. As a businessman myself, I realized that after coming out of the seminary with a theology degree, it was not enough for me to run a successful church. Because what we have been doing in Africa is listening to individuals with degrees in English, anthropology, humanity studies. All these individuals who have sophisticated rhetoric but cannot build businesses, don't know how to hire the right employee, cannot help you run a nation successfully. People went and got a doctorate in humanitarian studies and they have in the back of their Facebook page, politician. And when have you done politics before? Have you ever been a politician? Being part of the Ambazonia organization doesn't indicate that you are a politician. Being a pastor is not enough to say you are a politician, because it's like running a business. One thing that you understand about those who own businesses, number one, they learn how to raise capital. They learn as to what a vision plays in an organization. They understand the power of vision. And that is very important. Ideologues don't understand. Psychopathic maniacs don't understand the role of a vision in a nation, in an organization, in the future of a country. They do not have a clue about what a vision is all about. And so when a president shows us a vision of a nation, their job is to disrupt. I bet you most of the issues that we have dealt with in Cameroon, trust me, if Ninjom Frunzi was to make significant progress, the Ambazonian group held him down. The SCNC held him down. And that is why I say these individuals are the root cause of the problem that every Cameroonian has been dealing with. Because when Ninjom Frunzi came to power, even the Francophones supported him. The entire nation supported Ninjom Frunzi. What do you think went wrong? Division. Individuals with group like Ambazonia, SCNC held Ninjom Frunzi down. If you look at an Anglophone going down, there is always an Anglophone behind that particular Anglophone that is going down. Right? If you look at every Anglophone, the failure of that Anglophone, there is another Anglophone behind, dragging this individual down. And this is the reality of our history. Because we are understanding this now, it indicates we will not make the same mistake. We would not go down that path again. Why? Because we understand this dynamics. We understand the enemies within. The enemies that have held the destiny of the people of this nation. And we are identifying them so that you do not follow their tracks. You do not become a surrogate or a follower of their ideology. Watch this clip and then we'll continue.
Not willing to fight, they want to fight. Right. Do you want to feel like you're afraid all the time? Or do you start to become the aggressor? Mm-hmm. And you start saying, you know what? You ain't got to find me because I'm looking for you. And then it changes everything.
I really like that. And the reason is because we have been standing on the sides watching these individuals play, make speeches, push our people to the wall, misguide them, misinform them, miseducate them to the point where they will be asking the question, who started the war? They do not understand who actually started the war. I came across this article. It indicates that there was a lawsuit against Ayabacho and the current Prime Minister of Norway. Fascinating. This is a clear indication that what we are doing is working. Right? Because I said it. It is not enough to tackle the young men on the ground fighting. There is a Goliath. When David showed up on the scene, he did not go after the little soldiers. He targeted Goliath. And when he brought down Goliath, everything stopped. And this is how we win big time, so that we can still have our young people and not get them in harm's way and have them lose their lives. Bring down the Goliath. And I'm saying this to every Anglophone and every Cameroonian. If you are waiting for President Paul Biya alone to bring an end to this madness, to bring an end to this tyranny, then I'm telling you, we have a long way to go. This is the time we are taking initiative. What the lawyer who filed this lawsuit started, it's indication that what we are doing here works. Because I made this a couple of months ago. I made this declaration that let's go after the Goliaths, and we are compiling their cases. If your child has been recruited into the Ambazonia movement, we are not going to attack them based on the Ambazonia war, as they call it. We are not going against them based on that. We are attacking them based on the fact that they've employed young people below 16, which is a violation of international law. This is how you tackle this kind of individuals. You don't go looking at the problem, looking at what they did and if they are right or wrong. No, you look for some of the loopholes. You look for the loopholes around their actions, and that is where you get them. So we are putting that case file together. And what the lawyers have just started, this is a joke. We have 5 individuals. This is just one that they are targeting right now. We have 5. Once these 5 individuals go down, we will never ever hear this story again in our community. And we'll go on to build Cameroon. I realize it's not enough to get a theology degree. That's why when people hear me talk, how diverse I speak, I'm engaging in politics, engaging in business, coming up with the entire idea of CSDP, moving our GDP to approximately $1 trillion in the next 20 years in the private sector. And people don't understand this. It's because I did not just study theology. I had to go on to pursue my master's in business administration with a concentration in finance. And in that process, as I was studying, I realized that solving the problem in our country is so easy if we will listen, cooperate, and take action on what works, not on dogma. People that studied literature, studied journalism, now are politicians. And you are listening to them. Come on, our people. This is it. Okay, this is what I just want to help you understand. Ninjon Frundi is the leader that we all respect in the Anglophone zone in Cameroon. We respect Ninjon Frundi for a purpose. And I made this declaration. If anyone disrespects Ninjon Frundi, they are disrespecting every Cameroonian. If anyone disrespects Ninjon Frundi, they are disrespecting every Anglophone. We are standing on the shoulders of giants. We can't say we just appeared from a vacuum. No, there are people who came before us, and we must respect them. You got to pocket your ego and respect those who came before you. We have leaders, we have elders, and we must respect them. We must not disrespect our elders. And I'm saying this to every young person in the country. In spite of your ideology, your confidence, your energy, there are some people who laid the foundation for this nation. We are standing on their shoulders. We cannot put them down. If you are a young man rising with the hope to bring about transformation in Cameroon and you disrupt the legacy of Ninjon Frundi, my question to you, what are you building on? What are you building on? This is the man who taught us that you can stand up and speak truth to power, yet be respectful, and yet go for peace. Stand with peace. Stand for peace. This is what Ninjon Frundi taught us. That that you can challenge the leaders in authority, but yet be respectful and preserve peace in your nation. That is what Ninja Mfrunzi taught each and every one of us. And his motto was power to the people, not power to tyrants, not power to ideologues, power to you. And it's on his shoulder that I stand to restore your power back. Power to the people, each and every one of you, from the Bayam Selams, from the motorbike riders, the taxi drivers, teachers, lawyers, everyone in the nation. Power to you. You have the power over your nation. Tyrants have told you it's power to them and not power to you. And today we are disrupting that foundation, and we are going back to what our leaders laid before us. It was power to the people. Power to you. I'm building on the legacy of Ninja Mfrunzi. And in this dispensation, we are making it become a reality. That is why we are pushing for economic empowerment. We will not just do it as politics. We are going to empower the private sector. In America, 90% of the jobs here are created by the private sector. Let's be radical towards building businesses. Let's be radical towards productivity and cooperation. Let's be radical about transformation and development. This is the industrial revolution of Cameroon. Let's start this. This is exciting. That we can make products, make services, and come up with ideas that transforms our economy. This is exciting. Not fighting one another. Not fighting because of the Anglophone heritage. Not fighting because of the Francophone heritage. Let's fight to preserve the heritage of Cameroonians. That is who we are. We are not Cameroonians because we were colonized by Britain. We are not Cameroonians because we were colonized by France. We are Cameroonians because we are the inhabitants of this geographical location. That is what makes us Cameroonians. Another incident is the taxi drivers that went on the street marching. And many people have been watching this and they don't understand why the taxi drivers went on the street marching. These taxi drivers are nation builders. Yes, they are nation builders. This is our people. This is the energy of those who love Cameroon. This is the energy of those who are patriotic about this nation and want to make it better, want to move the nation forward. These individuals standing out there are nation builders. You might not know who they are. You thought maybe they are just taxi drivers that showed up. No, these are taxi drivers with nation builders. Individuals that have heart for the nation, want to build Cameroon. They believe that in spite of our differences, we can come together and make the nation better and not destroy and kill one another. This is what I'm talking about. And if you're slow about what we are doing here on this platform, I guarantee you'll be left behind. I'll let you know, this is the industrial revolution of Cameroon. This is the future. Nation building is the next big thing. And I just want to let you guys know, if you are slow, you'll be left behind. This is a moving train and we are not turning back. This country will be better. Anglophones and Francophones, we work together as one. Ninjon stood for integration, and that is what I stand for. Ninjon stood for unity, and that is what I stand for. Ninja Mfrunzi was a man who loves the people, and that is what I stand for. In 2016, before the fight started, my wife had a personal interview with Ninja Mfrunzi before joining me in the state. And she could feel that this man really loves his country. When I look at the notes that she took, I can tell from my heart, Ninja Mfrunzi loved this nation and his ideas will work. There is a civil way to bring about transformation. And if your mindset is set on division, there's no way you can fix this nation. There's no way to come to a resolution with those type of individuals. You have to divide them, separate yourself from them, put them in jail, because there is no way you can reform them or help them or integrate them in society. With this kind of thinking, if they have crossed 40, there's no way to reform them. The younger ones below 40, we can revive them, we can reform them and help them get back into society. But those above 40, if you hear their language, put them in jail, prosecute them and kick them out of our society. They are of no good. It's better you cut the hand than destroy the entire body. And that is what Jesus Christ meant. Trim off the hand. And if this eye is causing you to sin, pluck it out. Pluck that one eye out. It's better you be with one eye than have two eyes that can't see. Do you understand what I'm saying? This is the level of politics we are playing. We are going to be one of the best nations in the entire continent of Africa because we'll be playing at the level that America is playing today, because that is what I'm setting my eyes on. We'll cooperate with this nation. We'll collaborate with this nation. We'll learn from this nation and build Cameroon. Both Anglophones and Francophones. That is what we stand for. There's no negotiation with this. Whether you like it or not, or if you want to stay in your own corner, good luck with that. Many want to come on this journey. Many of us want to get visas and travel to this country. Why don't we just look at what this country is doing and make it in Cameroon? That is what we are going for. You celebrate and throw parties when you have an American visa. Let's make Cameroon America. China has copied America for 30 plus years, and they've moved their GDP from approximately 390 billion US dollars to 17 trillion dollars. We can do that. We can move our economy to at least 1 trillion US dollars in the next 20 years in the private sector. With no government talk, fighting one another, everybody want to be president. No, we're going to leave that position on the side and work. Everybody will work extremely hard, because it's easy for us to achieve this if we just set our minds on a common goal. That is what we are doing, the young people in this generation. No complaint, no excuse. We are not going to blame no one. We're going to take 100% responsibility of our lives and take action and make our dreams become a reality in this nation. We've learned, we've studied, we've traveled, we've seen what works. We are not here to preach dogma. We are not here to just talk. We are here to work. Another video that I want to bring into this conversation is to help you understand where our people find themselves in terms of their thinking. Most of them are still in 1960. We are in 2024, for crying out loud. Let me show you something. Take a watch.
Tried to calm their fear. How many times do I have to tell you, I'm not gonna take away your slaves? Yeah, right, Honest Abe. We've had enough of you Northerners. We're gonna go form our own country. You can't do that. Why not?
Okay. When you see America in its early beginning, you realize that when Abraham Lincoln came to power, there were individuals that wanted to separate this nation. They fought extremely hard to separate this nation. That is what they wanted. And they're like, we want to keep our slaves. The northern states were like, no, we don't want to keep slaves. The southern states are like, we want to keep the slaves. And because of that, they wanted to break away from the Union. And Abraham Lincoln said, okay, we can come to a consensus, right? We can have this united nation, and you can keep your slaves. But his idea was to eradicate slavery. Take a watch.
Not. Well, if you had won the election, would it be okay for us to leave? Of course not. Well, why not? Because that's not how victim mentality works. Many states felt that
that is not how victim mentality works. Did I say this? Yes, I have said this many times on this platform. Victims have a way of operating. And all of this so-called secessionist Ambazonia movement, these individuals are a bunch of victims. Their mechanism is operating on a victim operating system. That is what they're really operating on. And because I've studied human nature, I can understand their workflow. I can understand their thinking pattern. I can understand the vibrations in their brain and what can come out of their mouth. It's so predictable. You can only be a blind man not to see what they are doing. Right? So it is very, very clear. You can hear that from the video. But we'll keep watching. We are going somewhere with this video. It's going to help you understand some certain things regarding this entire Ambazonia tyrannical movement that you seem to be keeping a blind eye to. So let's keep watching.
when they joined the Union, they always withheld the right to leave it whenever they pleased. Many people living in 19th century America often felt more loyalty to their state than to the nation.
Many people living in 19th century America were more loyal to their state than they were to the nation. 19th century, do you see where the Ambazonian leaders find themselves? Do you see where the Ambazonian cabal find themselves? In the 19th century, that is their thinking. They are more loyal to Northwest and Southwest than they are loyal to Cameroon. That is why they are the cause of the downfall of every Cameroonian. Because with individuals like this in the community, there's no stability. And instead of the government focusing on economic development, the government will be focused on security. Do you understand this? Because they are loyal to the Anglophone, the Anglo-Saxon culture than they are loyal to Cameroon. And that is why I made it clear that I am a Cameroonian first. I'm an Anglophone second, for a reason. Because I study. Because I've researched. I want to take us to this level of thinking today in 2024. Americans can riot, they can go on the street, they can disagree with their president, they can say they don't want this policy, but say they want to split up the nation. That is not the conversation that they have today. And they think maybe it's something new that they are doing. No, it is not. There were individuals who wanted to separate this nation. But today, what becomes of America? America is one united nation. Yes, there's the blue states, there's the red states. They disagree, but one thing you are guaranteed of is that they will not want to split up this nation. That is the beauty of America. Not this archaic, myopic politicians that you see around. Acclaimed politicians, acclaimed leaders that you see around in our community.
Now, with the South feeling like it had lost its voice in the federal government, they were out of here. South Carolina was the first to go, and over a period of 6 months, one by one, 11 slave states officially seceded from the Union, with just 4 contested border states opting to remain. The seceding states issued a number of official documents justifying their secession. South Carolina proclaimed that it was northern states' hostility to slavery that rendered the federal government illegitimate. Mississippi declared that their position was thoroughly identified with the institution of slavery. And in a speech, the Confederate vice president stated that the new Confederate government rested upon what he called the great truth of racial inequality. Revered American generals, such as Robert E. Lee, opted to side with their states over the Union. And with all the chaos,
one thing that you will find in common in antiquity is people sided with their groups more than the Union. People sided with their states more than the Union. In Cameroon, we side more with our tribes than with the Union. We side more with Anglophones than with the Union. We have to prioritize the Union and then our tribes second. We have to prioritize the Union and then our state second. With this, a country will move forward fast, progressively, because of just this one thinking, this approach. This one approach can change everything for us in Cameroon. If we prioritize Cameroon first and then your tribe, your region second, this will change everything for us. And we can move from this primitive backward way of thinking to thinking like Americans really fast. Because today the language I hear throughout this country, in spite of the challenges that they face, is that they prioritize the United States of America first, and then you can, the state second, your region second, your city second. But the state can never be above the nation, above the union. This is politics 101 at the level of Champions League that I'm breaking down for you to understand what is going on here, so that we can make progress really fast. Because one thing that we face in third world nations is that we are slow to take action on what works. We want to deliberate, we want to contemplate, we want to argue, we want to have debate. Just take what works and plug it and get the result. Let's unite and take action. Let's prioritize our nation first, and then the state, and then the individual. Or we go with the nation first, and then the individual second. If we do this, growth is going to happen really fast. You will wonder and ask yourself the question, why have we been slow to take action? Why have we been struggling all these years? If we could just follow this strategy and just make life better for every Cameroonian. Do you understand what I'm saying? This is where we are going, my people.
One New York lawyer wrote that rather than a bald eagle, America's national bird should be a debilitated chicken. And hey, I kind of like that. One man, watching the crisis unfold, knew it would be his job to solve it. Lincoln was just about to hop on a train and become the President of the United States of America. They were missing their precious supply of Southern cotton because of the Union blockade, and they wanted to see a swift conclusion to the war. The tension between America and Great Britain had been increasing, especially after Confederate diplomats were discovered on a British ship. Now, after McClellan's failure to take Richmond, the UK declared it impossible for the North to win. Lincoln needed something to prevent Europe from getting involved, and after more petitioning from abolitionists, he decided maybe the time was finally right to make the war about ending the institution he hated, slavery. If the North had a noble cause to fight for, Europe would be less likely to intervene. But Lincoln and his cabinet knew before they could declare something as radical as emancipation, they needed a victory, especially now that the Confederates were about to go on the attack. Aware that he had a limited number of men in supply.
Okay, to wrap up this session so that we can have perspective on this conversation, the point that I wanted us to outline in this conversation is the very fact that the reason why we are struggling in Cameroon is because we have entertained conversations that prioritizes our little villages, our little communities, our state over the entire nation. And again, we do not practice true democracy in Cameroon. And it is tempting to think the problem is the government alone. But this is what I have observed over time. We grew up in villages where we've seen leaders, chiefs, that get in power and stay in power till they die. And their children take over. That has been the cycle over time. We have not thought about this institution. Tomorrow, when an individual emerges and becomes the president and stays in power forever, we fight them. But we do not question this institution and ask ourselves the question, if we have children growing up in a community where they see a leader stays in power till they die, right? Their children take over, we expect something different at the level of a state. You see the challenge that we have? We never look at ourselves. The government is to be blamed. How did this government come about? Paul Biya was once a student, a child in the community like everyone else, seeing this socio-economic landscape. This is our context. And this is the problem within the broader context of Africa, right? People grow up seeing their chiefs stay in power till they die, and then their children take over. The cycle repeats itself. We want to take the democracy from the West to come challenge our government, but we won't challenge institutions that we have grown our entire life seeing someone be in power from birth to death, their child take over, but we want something different at the level of a state. If we have these institutions where a chief comes into power and he has to stay in power till he dies and his child takes over, we should be able to at least tolerate what we see at the level of a state. What we see in our local community is what we will see at the national level. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's either you leave the democracy alone or you embrace the totality of that democracy. It's either you embrace civilization or you leave it alone and go with what works for you. You cannot mix the two. You cannot blend it. And that is what we have been trying to do in Africa. And that is what we have been trying to do in Cameroon in particular. We want to have the democracy, but we also want these other institutions to operate within the framework of that democracy. And I'm saying it's either you have one or other. And that's why God said he will never share his glory with anyone. You either love God or you love the devil. You can't be in between, or else you are lukewarm. You can't have both. Choose one. And this is my message to every Cameroonian, and this is my message to every African. Take this serious. It's either we choose the democracy or we choose our tribal institutions. And we operate at the local level and operate that same way at the national level. And we do not complain when it's not working for us. You can't have both. There's the dilemma in the continent, and everybody is turning to the government to blame the government, blaming the president. And they don't ask themselves the question, where did this idea come from? We grew up in a community where we see chiefs stay in power till they die. And they are always wealthy people. They always have control over the community. Most of them are always the most wealthy people. This is the system. at the local level, and that is what we get at the national level. When we get to the place where we start cooperating with our leaders, cooperating with our government, we will make progress. That is what works. And that is why I'm coming up with CSDP. The organization is aimed at training 3,000 Cameroonians in the 7 industries that are transforming the global economy. And if we model America, a nation that has achieved the highest standard of human excellence in these industries, we will be able to make progress really fast in the next 20 years. Poverty will be the story of the past, right? Stop poverty will be a story of the past. Why? Because we will model what works. We will play at the level of Champions League rather than playing at the level of Intercati. Hope this message sinks. Hope every Cameroonian gets it, because I try as much as possible to make it so simple that you don't miss it. That you don't come back here 20 years from now and watch this video and say, I didn't know the way forward for our nation. This is the way forward. The way forward is economic development, prosperity, integration, unity, peace. And we keep all this talk of sitting on the table to have conversations with individuals that I don't know on what grounds are they sitting on that table to have a conversation with the president. SCNC is an organization that has been banned in Cameroon. Did you know that? Ambazonia failed and it has revived himself in 2016. Did you know that? Under the guise of SCNC is the same movement, the same individuals. Gorgin Dinka, Professor Anyangwe, Martin Jume, all these individuals created organizations that are aimed at seceding from the nation, just like what started here in the United States of America. But what happened over time? Presidents like Abraham Lincoln stood his grounds and said, we will not secede this union and we will still abolish slavery and slave trade. And that marked the beginning of the liberation of black people. This is the energy, guys. This is the vision. This is the passion. This is the trajectory, and this is the future. Choose. You want pain or you want gain? You want the future or you want the past? You want ideologues with no track record of building businesses or bringing about prosperity, or you want individuals who know what they are doing, have run businesses, and understand how the global economy works? Choose. And if you do choose, it is going to make all the difference. We bring down these Goliaths, which is what we are advocating for now. 5 of them. If they come down, the struggle ends. We go ahead and build our economy. If you like this video and you want to watch another one, click right here. If you want to watch the entire video, click right here.